The LG G5 was a trio of flagship smartphones that released in the first half of 2016. The Samsung Galaxy S7 released first, then the G5, then the HTC 10. That's a lot of competition between smartphones in a short amount of time. All three of these phones carry the same high-end CPU, GPU, and RAM combination. Snapdragon 820 processors, Adreno 530 GPUs, and 4 gigs of RAM. I love the S7 for its display and its camera, more specifically its video recording capabilities. I love the HTC 10 for its build quality and the OIS they included in its front-facing camera. So it begs the question, what do I love about the G5? No, that's for next year. I was saving that, you idiot.
One God, the creator of the universe.
The G5 sports a pretty minimal design besides its branding on the front. The glass curves at the top and gives it a seamless look. Personally, I dig it.
Oh yeah!
An 8 megapixel front camera up here. Your volume rockers are on the left side of the phone. The buttons are tactile, but I felt better. A 3.5mm headphone jack at the top, although I do prefer it at the bottom. One bottom firing speaker, and I'd prefer that up front. And a USB Type-C port for charging. This I like.
Oh yeah!
On the back, you have a fingerprint reader to unlock your phone. But the fingerprint reader also acts as a power/lock button if pressed. The G5 sports 2 rear cameras, a 16 megapixel lens, and an 8 megapixel wide angle lens. We'll dig into that later.
Oh yeah!
You have a slot here for your SIM card, but also for a micro SD card for expandable storage. And on the opposite side, towards the bottom of the phone, is a button you can press to remove the housing to access the removable battery. I'll be honest, I never take this out. I just charge my phone when the battery's low. But it's nice to know that if your battery is on its way out, you can swap it if you really needed to. This would come in handy for those that stick with one phone for a few years. Batteries don't last forever, so why not keep a spare for when that time comes? This quote-unquote modular-like phone can use different accessories as well, but from what I've heard, they haven't been all that great. But it's good to see some innovation start somewhere. One of the biggest issues LG faced when the G5 came out was proving the G5 was made of metal. When you compare it to phones like a Nexus 6P, sorry, my Nexus 6P is all busted up, but still, when you compare it to a phone like a Nexus 6P or an HTC 10, you can definitely feel that cold steel, cold metal characteristic in your hands. The G5 doesn't have that. It said the metal's there, but it's painted and primered on. If you ask me, it feels more plasticky than metal. But I also don't mind it. While I do prefer that metal feel, the phone's comfortable in hand, and at the end of the day, I figure most will get over it. If not, move on, this phone's not for you. The G5 carries a 5.3-inch display at a 1440p resolution. The screen is bright, and in pure sunlight, I can read things fine. And that's usually what I test out first, how well the visibility is in bright sunlight. Overall, I'm happy with the display. Yeah, there are uniformity issues on my display, and I've heard this is common with others. I've made a video about this in the past, so I'll leave a link up top if you'd like to check it out, but I only notice it if I'm absolutely looking for it. During normal use, it's not something I ever catch. Let's talk about performance. Remember when I asked what's there to love about the G5? Well, for me, this is one of them. The G5 might carry the same hardware specs as the S7 and the HTC 10, but I find myself most pleased with the experience of using the G5. Going through apps and navigating from one place to another is fast and lag-free. In fact, I've said this before to friends, but the way I navigate through screens on my G5 is what I'd expect the Nexus 6P to be like if it carried a Snapdragon 820. I actually threw the Google Now launcher on here to give myself a more Nexus, or do I say Pixel Now? Like experience. If one of your top priorities on a phone is a mostly clean, lag-free experience, I would definitely give the G5 a try with the Google Now launcher running. You won't be disappointed. The following is a photo quality test. All photos were shot in its native resolution, all photos were shot in full auto mode, all photos were shot on a tripod with a timer. So I won't have people complaining about, if you held the phone steadier, the pictures would have came out better. Wah. The first thing to notice is how the G5's native resolution is set to 16:9 instead of the standard 4:3. It makes for a more appealing shot on a widescreen display, but that alone doesn't make for the best picture. The G5 does give off a very natural look here, however the OnePlus 3 leans on that side as well. The 6P is too blue in this shot for my tastes, and the S7 seems to mimic the picture results of the G5 and the OnePlus 3. Now here's a shot in the same spot using the G5's wide-angle lens, makes a big difference. Again, here's a shot using the G5 standard lens, and now with the wide angle in the exact same position. These shots can be especially good when you're around wide open landscapes or busy ones like a downtown area, in a big crowd, or you just need a wider overall snap. Off the bat, the G5 washes out the picture, and you're gonna notice this on the next few shots. A lot of these were taken on a very sunny, clear day. The OnePlus 3 and the S7 give off a good balance while fighting the sun, and the 6P gives off a very rich tone of blues and greens here. While not really accurate, it's still a good shot. When standing behind the sun, the G5 does a much better job overall. All of these pictures have great quality, it's just a matter of personal preference at this point.
One God, the creator of the universe.
There are an infinite number of other universes, each with its own God. Where did God come from?
In this set of night shots, it looks like all but the S7 capture a bit too much light, giving off either artificial, saturated colors or too much noise in the background. The S7 is my favorite here. The G5 is a decent shooter. It's not my top pick, but I've actually seen much better results when people who know what they're doing use manual mode. I, however, don't. I'm more of an auto mode point and shoot and move on with my day guy. If you are too and a camera is your top priority, this might not be the phone for you unless you're willing to learn to shoot manually. Do remember the phone also carries a secondary wide-angle lens, so if it's versatility you need, make sure to give the G5 a look. And if you need more camera comparisons, I've done a number of shootouts using the G5. Feel free to gander around my channel for that. The following is a video quality and video stabilization test. All videos were shot on either a tripod or a one-handed rig to compare the G5's quality and stabilization to some of its competition. The LG G5 seems to do well as far as video quality, but when it comes to stabilization, it can't quite keep up with the S7, and even though it's better than the OnePlus 3 and the Nexus 6P in that department, there are moments of stutter and judder that just throws off the video. The following is the rest of this review. I've been using the G5 as my daily for over a week now, and in terms of its 2800 mAh battery, I've been consistently getting around 4 hours, give or take 10 minutes of screen on time over a course of a 16 or so hour day. It's not the best battery, but it's also decent enough to go through a full day with medium to medium heavy use. I'm actually pleased with the results considering its 1440p resolution combined with its smaller capacity battery, that is compared to other flagship phones with these specs. The G5 also beats a lot of its competition when it comes to its external speaker. Yes, it's a bottom firing speaker, but it's loud and it's clear. It's up there when I rate it against other phones in external speaker quality. If I had to rank it with phones I've used, the 2015 Moto X would come in first, the Nexus 6P second, and the LG G5 a close third. And I mean it when I say a close third.
That I don't want to leave out. The Nexus 6P is a solidly built phone. It's probably the classiest Nexus phone that's ever been released. It's really a tall phone, but it's very slim. But it's still tall enough where it's not a phone that's a true one-handed phone. I mean, I still use this phone one-handedly.
It certainly beats all the other bottom firing speakers in terms of loudness and clarity. It's definitely a great speaker, and I was instantly surprised when I tested it out. As far as software goes, the G5 is clean, although it has its small share of bloatware, but it isn't horrible. You're able to uninstall and disable some of those apps, and if you end up getting an unlocked version instead of a carrier one like mine from T-Mobile, you'll even have less to deal with. And with a custom launcher like the Google Now launcher I mentioned, your experience might even be better. The G5 has small shortcuts like double tap to wake, double pressing the down volume rocker activates the camera, and one of my favorites that you won't find on many phones these days is the IR blaster. The G5 is still rocking Marshmallow 6.0.1, and the rumor is it'll get the update to 7.0 Nougat towards the end of the year. Otherwise, Marshmallow still does a great job as a mobile OS for Android, and if you're willing to wait because you like what the G5 has to offer, I don't blame you. When the G5 was up for pre-order a few months ago, I paid about $630 for the phone. Today, you can grab an international unlocked version new for about $420 on Amazon. It'll work on GSM networks here in the US like AT&T and T-Mobile, sometimes it pays to wait. The G5 isn't a perfect phone, no phone is, yet, at least for me it isn't. And despite its build quality not reaching Galaxy S7 or HTC 10 status, its performance is excellent, its external speaker is one of the loudest and clearest in the bunch, the phone sports 2 rear cameras, one for extra wide shots, you get an IR blaster, a removable battery, expandable storage, decent battery life. And if the phone were to drop, let's say, under $400, I'd be hard pressed not to recommend it for all those positives above.